on the Kentucky staff would say, yeah, their zone is really throwing fits. We need to maybe make some adjustments. Nope, we're not going to make any adjustments. We have all the dudes. But we may talk about this coming up in about 15 minutes. Is John Calipari's system being disrupted? Brenden and I, off the air yesterday, had an interesting conversation about disruptors because Brenden watched the Blackberry movie. And is Kentucky Blackberry?
Dude, they could be.
It's like hey, this is how we do things. And everybody's like, yeah, that's the way you do it. And they're like, hey, guys, times are changing. NIL's coming into the world. We can't just, on reputation, bring in these guys. We gotta NIL it. We gotta transfer portal it, Cal. And he's like, nope. This is the way we do it. This is the way it works. And I wonder if Kentucky basketball is sitting there like Blockbuster used to and like BlackBerry used to and like MySpace used to. And without all the warning signs, be like, maybe we shouldn't worry so much about getting 5-star high school seniors in as freshmen, getting them into the first round, and having them make gajillions of dollars in the NBA, which, by the way, still no program better than Kentucky at doing that. Look at any NBA roster. You look at every great player. Look at all the all-stars in the NBA. Duke and Kentucky, still the best at putting dudes in the NBA and those dudes succeeding. Problem is, at Kentucky, it's led to one championship, which is obviously nothing to scoff at unless you're Kentucky. And it has led to just 2 more Final Fours. That's it. That's it, and that's all. Meanwhile, we're in a spot now where transfer portal, NIL, G League is stealing players left and right. Europe, high school players have other options, right? 5 years ago, Brenden, Scoot Henderson goes to Kentucky, right? Like, he plays at Kentucky. The Thompson brothers, who were both drafted in the top 5, they're at Kentucky or they're at Duke or at Carolina 5 years ago. That's where they're going. Well, while they still have Reed Shepherd is there at Kentucky. Like, he's projected, I think, number 2 overall. Like,
high pick.
He's going to be a high pick, but like the days of like, if you want to go to the NBA and be a top 10 pick, you go play for Kentucky, you go play for Coach Cal because you got Karl Anthony Towns and Kid Gilchrist and Anthony Davis and Devin Booker and Jamal Murray. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. But now you've got so many other options, and other teams have some NIL money and are able to compete. I'm wondering, like, does the Kentucky model that John Calipari started and was so good at for a time that Coach K had to change the way he did it? Yeah, you go back in time. Coach K and Duke was like, we don't do one and dones here. Believe it or not, that was a thing. We don't do the one and done rule came in, and the NBA was like, yep, you got to go to college for a year. I think 2007 was that was the first one, because that was the Greg Oden draft, right? It was Greg Oden, it was Kevin Durant, and I remember Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K was like, yeah, we are not doing the one and done thing. We want to bring players in. We want them to be students first, did the whole thing. Then took a couple of L's over the next couple of years because Kentucky kept bringing in John Wall and Jamal Murray and Devin Booker and Anthony Davis, and the list goes on and on and on.
But it changed.
And so Kentucky was winning, and then Duke finally came in, and this is what the point I'm going to get to, is that Mike Krzyzewski was like, all right, we need to bring in some one and dones. And so all of a sudden Kyrie Irving played 15 games at Duke and was like, yeah, I'm going to the NBA. But like Kyrie Irving, Justice Winslow, Zion.
Another big one.
Am I missing?
Plays in Boston.
Jason Tatum.
Mr. Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum. Yeah, but like, yeah, come into Duke, play 1 year, we'll get you to the like.
But at least Tatum played in 30 games, so I'll give him that.
But like that. But Coach K was we don't do one and dones, right? We're Duke. We're above that. And then it was like, we're taking L's here. We need to start doing one and dones. And kind of, he changed and adapted. Nick Saban was the best at this. I remember it like it was yesterday because obviously I was right there in the heart of it. Chip Kelly is running the blur offense at Oregon, and Oregon is crushing teams, right? 2010 Oregon was crushing teams. And Nick Saban could see the writing on the wall. And he was like, our system works in the SEC where they keep having double tight ends and fullbacks, but at some point, like you keep spreading out and keep going up tempo. And by the way, Auburn was doing it, and Cam Newton was crushing everybody in the SEC. And Nick Saban came out and was like, "All right, are we doing this? All right." So he just, "All right, are we doing this?" And it was like, "Yeah, coach, we're not going to change the rules." Because he was like, "Players are going to get hurt," and it was like, "All right, we're doing this." And then boom, all of a sudden, guess what? Alabama's running no huddle. Alabama's running up tempo. Alabama's like, "All right, fine. Well, I'm going to hire Lane Kiffin and hire Steve Sarkisian, and I'm going to hire all these offensive coordinators, and we're going to run up tempo stuff. But I've got the best dudes. So are you sure you want it? Are you sure?" And then NIL came into the world, and Nick Saban's like, "Are we sure we want to do this?" Like, "Yeah, coach." He's like, "All right." And then all of a sudden, he's like, "Yeah, I still get the best players." Then ultimately, obviously, he retired, but John Calipari is like, no, this is the way we do it. BlackBerry, MySpace, Blockbuster.
I just learned, Justin, they're like this, to your point, it's like, no one's going to want a touchscreen phone. So right now is Calipari going, no one's going to want a team full of grad transfers and seniors.
Exactly. Don't want a bunch of junior, like NIL transfer portal seekers. That's not what we're doing. We're put guys in the first round because that's not who, like the transfer portal kids, like they're not the ones going in the first round. First round guys are G League Ignite and the one and dones. But the guys that are, and the teams that are winning, timely reference.
Great reference.
Like UConn won last year. And they probably have a couple of dudes in the NBA, but like, did they have a top 10 pick? Did they have a first round pick? I don't remember. That's not an I'm bad at basketball drafts. Brenden is our basketball draft guy. But go back last year, UConn. Did they put anybody in the first round of the NBA draft?
Yeah, Jordan Hawkins went 14th pick.
How could I forget about Hawkins?
Yeah, I actually forgot to. So sorry.
But one guy, 14th, right? Whereas like Kentucky's got like two dudes that might go top 10 this year. But UConn, they won the title. Purdue's not going to put anybody in the first round. Is Zach Edey going to be a first-round pick at 7-4?
No, he's projected deep second round, which I think someone will get a steal, but that should tell you what they think of his pro prospect.
Because he can't shoot threes. If this were 2005, Zach Edey would be a number one overall pick.
Oh, without a doubt.
Number one overall pick. But Purdue, like, I know Purdue lost to Fairleigh Dickinson last year, and Purdue still has to play a first-round game. But
would he have been drafted, Justin, as a Shaq stopper 15 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
100%.
just ask. Well, actually, it's probably longer than that now. It's more like
that was way long ago, late 90s, like
20 years ago. Plus.
The most famous Shaq stopper was Michael Olowokandi. Do you remember who Michael Olowokandi was? He played
the coolest name ever, dude.
He played at Pacific. Got drafted, I think, number one overall or top 3 by the Clippers. And essentially, we have to, like, he's the biggest body in the draft. We have to draft him because we have to play Shaq.
He went by the Candyman?
Yeah, Candyman can.
Dude, good for him.
Actually, Candyman was also a very scary movie back then. Yeah.
Actually, not the worst stats, I would assume. Like, he's not a bust. I mean.
No, but for a number one overall.
Yeah.
Supposed to be the Shaq stopper.
He did, 98. He went first overall.
Who got drafted after him? Where's Marcus Camby? Marcus Camby might have been 97.
Yeah, this draft, they passed on Antoine Jameson, this guy named Vince Carter. This guy named Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, and, by the way, that 98 North Carolina team that had Vince Carter and Antoine Jameson was so good.
Oh, I bet. And
so good. That was one of the most, Not like what Kentucky has done, but that was one of the most disappointing. Didn't make the Final Four. I think Rasheed Wallace might have been on that team too.
Yeah. Paul Pierce that year too. I think Kansas is probably pretty good with Paul Pierce.
Kansas was good with Paul Pierce.
Yeah. So anywho, yeah.
It was. Did you say John Wallace? Is he on there?
No,
Syracuse.
That's pretty much Larry Hughes. Yep, that's pretty much it for the All Stars out of that draft. But
anyways,
yeah, this guy named Bonzi Wells. We knew him kind of well.
But my point was, like, you look at BlackBerry and you look at MySpace and you look at Blockbuster, right? And it's like, Coach Cal, your system's not working anymore. We're in a different era of basketball, and the teams that are winning in college basketball, which should be your main focus, right? If you want to be an NBA portal, if you want to be a NBA conduit, great. But I don't know if the fine folks at Kentucky want that. They want banners, baby. They don't want to sit around in June and pat themselves on the back for all the first rounders they have. They want to be raising banners. And it seems as though that's been the priority for Kentucky is look at all the players I put in the NBA. Well, it's like, how many players have you put in the Final Four? Not a lot. Whereas UConn, Purdue, Virginia, who can't make lay-ins, 3 years ago was a national champion. Those are the teams that are going to Final Fours. Villanova with good NBA players, but like that was Brunson and Hart and like those Villanova guys, they were like third juniors and seniors, right? Meanwhile, on the flip side, we got Dana Altman. Dana Altman does not lose in the first round. Dana Altman undefeated in the first round, and he has got Oregon moving past South Carolina, playing their best basketball. They've got a matchup with Creighton. Why Dana Altman is the opposite of Calipari. We'll talk about that coming up next here on 620 Rip City Radio. There's all sorts of old-timey sayings like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the omelet worth cracking the eggs? Is the process of getting somewhere, is the outcome of said process ultimately worth what you are going to have to go through? And Oregon basketball fans have kind of been put through the test because Oregon basketball is now in a spot where I believe every Oregon fan who is my age wanted the program to be in. The squeeze, a little bit more this year than we anticipated, but Oregon basketball is now in the spot and has been since year 3 of Dana Altman of where the basketball program for Oregon fans want it to be. And I'll tell you where it came from. We're going to do a fun little history lesson. I know you guys love these little history lessons. I know you just go, please, can Justin do a history lesson today? But I've talked about it when I was a kid. I loved March Madness. Loved it. Filling out brackets. The bracket was in the paper. Like the USA Today, that was like a must get. But like even like the Oregonian on selection on the Monday after Selection Sunday. That's the day I'm thinking of. They would have the bracket there in the paper, and you'd fill out your brackets, and you would have your bracket there. My parents were teachers, so I had access to photocopy machines. I'd get to go to the photocopy room, and I was like printing out brackets left and right. And then, of course, the teachers who they had me doing it for them as well. So I was the bracket. Loved it, clearly. But there was always one problem, right? My beloved Oregon Ducks, when I was a kid, made one NCAA tournament. Made one.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Exactly. Brenden knows the thing because the fortunes of Oregon State and Oregon have obviously drastically changed, but there was a time when Oregon was kind of a doormat in the Pac-12, and the best you could hope for was an upset over UCLA. That was fun, but they weren't even going to the NIT back in the day. So you would go to MacArthur Court, and you're like, maybe we'll see an upset. And all of that. They're playing Arizona. They're playing USC with Harold Miner. Throwback, 1992. Loved Harold Miner.
Was he the dude who you thought might be like the?
His nickname was Baby Jordan.
Okay, right? That's what I thought. I didn't want to say that.
His nickname.
Tongue in cheek.
Turned out he wasn't Baby Jordan. He was the first of a long line of people who we were like, is this the next Jordan? Is this the next Jordan? Is this the next Jordan? Turned out it was Harold Miner. He was the first one.
But he was billed as one, huh?
Dude, he could, because again, the Michael Jordan you know now, which is the ruthless competitor and the championship DNA and all of that, like I will punch Steve Kerr to get a champion. That was not the Michael Jordan we knew back in the early 90s. The Michael Jordan we knew was Air Jordan. He jumps from the free throw line and dunks the ball. He jumps up in the air and hangs. It was all about jumping and hang time, and Harold Miner could jump through the gym. He could. Now, couldn't quite shoot like old MJ. Didn't really have the competitive streak like MJ, but he could dunk like nobody's business. But anyways, when I was a kid, Oregon made the NCAA tournament once, right? Made it once, lost to Texas. Then Ernie Kent gets the job. So Jerry Green was the coach at Oregon and actually had them in the right direction. Took over for Don Munson, which is interesting because Dan Munson, it was kind of a fun little story going on with the Long Beach State thing. But Don Munson was there. Then Jerry Green took over. And Jerry Green had this Southern drawl, and we'd go like midnight. He started Midnight Madness, which was awesome. And you were like, all I want is this team to be part of March Madness. Like, that's all we want. Just when the tournament comes, I want to be able to fill Oregon out on my bracket and be more than just a spoiler to Arizona and to UCLA and to USC and Stanford and all these other schools. And so they go and they make it. They make it to the NCAA tournament. They lose to Texas, but who cares? They made it. And this is all. Jerry Green gets poached by Tennessee. Believe it or not, Oregon used to get coaches poached. That would never happen today, unless it's Miami or Florida State. That happens sometimes too. But Tennessee comes and offers Jerry Green, and Jerry Green's like, yep, I'm going back home, going to Tennessee. And Jerry Green was also a early guy in the we got to get rid of MacArthur Court.
Really?
Yeah. Because
20 years ahead of the game.
But it was a touchy subject because MacArthur Court, Brenden, that's the pit. That is a beloved place.
Oh, yes.
That place has a soul. And he was like,
that was your old barn.
It's like, yeah, I bring recruits in here. They look up and they go, I'm playing here. Because if you ever went to MacArthur Court, when it's empty, it's embarrassingly bad. MacArthur Court full of people, one of those glorious things of all time. But you go in there and like you look around and you're like, I'm playing here. I just took a trip to Pauley Pavilion. Like,
I don't want to compare apples to oranges, but was it really any different than seeing an empty Gill right now?
It's a little bit the same.
Yeah.
It's a little bit the same.
Like, and I don't mean that
the only difference is,
as a slight to Oregon State at all.
I'm not saying this mean-spirited. Please.
See, I said no. Justin says he has to.
Please don't take this in a mean-spirited way. The pit had a reputation of like, that's a tough place to go and get a win. Gill doesn't have that. It does for Arizona. That's about it. But like, so the thing of replacing MacArthur Court back in the 90s was never about, can we afford this? It was always about, no, this is our home court advantage. You can't take it away, as opposed to with Oregon State. I think if they had one of those, like who's the guy that owns the Bucks?
Oh, Wes Edens.
If Edens?
Yeah, Edens.
If he created Eden's Garden, which is what I would call it.
Yeah.
You can trademark that. You can, hey.
He's not even the richest alum anymore.
But he's at least in basketball, though.
Yeah, sure.
Workshop that around. Eden's Garden.
Okay.
New basketball arena at Oregon State. We're going to call it Eden's Garden as opposed to the Garden of Eden. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're going to do.
Well done.
But if he came in and was like, hey, I got $350 million, new basketball arena, in Corvallis, they would do it. It's a financial thing. In Oregon, it was an identity thing. Anyways.
Yeah, no, I was just curious.
So Jerry Green was like, we gotta get a new arena. And they're like,
they were built very different.
And they're like, no, we're not doing a new arena, Jerry. This is our home court advantage. Fans love it. And so then Jerry goes, great, I'm taking the job at Tennessee. He's leaving. And Ernie Kent came in, and Ernie Kent was like, I love the pit. I played here. I played at the pit. I would never want to replace this old barn. That's going to change. And Ernie Kent went about kind of slowly but surely build it, pounding the pavement, selling the program. They make an NCAA tournament, lose to Seton Hall in Buffalo, 9 a.m. in the morning. But they were working it. They were figuring some things out. They'd make a couple of NIT appearances. And then all of a sudden he got these two freshmen, Luke Rittenauer, Luke Jackson. They paired up with Freddie Jones. Shout out to Barlow. And they make a run. They make a run to the Elite Eight, and it was like, boy, we've never seen anything like this before. And then even though Freddie Jones graduated, Luke and Luke come back the next year. They go to the tournament, losing the first round to Utah. Ugh, that was a tough one. But now it's like, all right, so now Oregon fans are like, great, this is what we do all the time. Well, then NIT appearance, rebuilding, good recruiting class, but no. And Ernie Kent's career at Oregon was full of peaks and valleys. And again, juice, squeeze, this is the whole thing. And it became clear to a certain place in Oregon basketball that, like, all we want is to you don't have to go to the Elite Eight, because Ernie Kent went to 2 Elite Eights. It was like, you don't have to go to the Elite Eight every year. That's a silly expectation. We just want to be part of this. And remember, at this entire time, Gonzaga is on the come. Mark Few had taken over Gonzaga after the 99 run. Dan Munson would go to Minnesota. But Gonzaga, at the same time as Oregon, kind of, they're in the Pacific Northwest, and Brandon Roy's playing at Washington too. But like, and Gonzaga's being coached by this guy, Mark Few, from Cresswell, right down the road. And Gonzaga was going to the tournament every single year. Helps to play in the West Coast Conference. But they're going to the tournament every single year. And they got a chance. Even if they lose in the first round, it's that hope, right? Whereas Oregon was going and rebuilding, going, rebuilding. So Oregon finally says, all right, Ernie, thanks for the memories. Great times here. We're moving on. And they bring in Dana Altman. And the message was pretty clear from the fan base. All we want, just make the tournament more than you don't. Don't need you to go to the Elite Eight every single year. Don't have any silly, pipe dreams of Oregon being on the same level of Duke and North Carolina. Just, you see what Gonzaga's doing? Like, can you just do that? Again, this was 14 years ago. Can you just do that? And Dana Altman said, yeah, I can do that. Here's the deal, though. I'm not going to sell this program. I'm going to kind of be crusty. I am going to bring in transfers. I am going to reshape the roster. But more often than not, we're going to make the tournament. And by the way, when I make the tournament, I win the first round. Just so you all know, when I make the tournament, I think 9-0 Dana Altman is in first round games. So, yeah, just so you know, we're going to make the tournament a lot, and we're going to win at least one game. And ultimately, he would lead Oregon to a Final Four. But, I've talked about it throughout this season. What's the culture of Oregon basketball? What is the Dana Altman way? And can you really just sit back and rely on they're going to make a run in March? Don't worry about it. Because this year they were staring down 3 consecutive NITs, and I don't even know if they would have attended the NIT. Maybe they would have. Who knows? But you had to wonder, is this NIL thing? Because Oregon had a recruiting advantage. That's a swoosh. They had a recruiting advantage. Nike basketball. Hey, you want to come to Oregon? You have success, you're going to be a Nike athlete. Also, you're going to have access to, Bol, when they got him as a recruit, Brenden flat out said, yeah, I am a sneakerhead. I wanted cool sneakers. On top of, I get access to limited edition Jordans. He said that. It's part of, not the reason why, but, and you have to wonder, all right, new era, NIL. Has Dana Altman lost a step? Well, the juice worth the squeeze was put to the test this year, and now here Oregon is back in the second round. Dare I say dominated South Carolina? Brenden, you asked, should the seeds have been flipped? And
I did.
On paper, no, because, again, I have watched Oregon play all year, but the frustration that Oregon has had all year is that due to injuries, there's been inconsistencies. Now they're fairly healthy with Dante. And when you look at how the rest of the 11 seeds are, I'd venture to say the recruiting rankings for Oregon basketball as an 11 seed, probably head and shoulders above everybody else. Kwame Evans, big-time recruit. Jackson Shellstad, big-time recruit. Nefali Dante, when he was recruited, was a massive big-time recruit and had been obviously dealing with injuries. Transfer and Kuznard. You look at these guys that are coming in, these are top-level college basketball. Problem was, he's been playing up and down all season, and Altman hadn't got it figured out until they went to Vegas. So I went through that entire spiel to say that I think Oregon basketball fans have accepted the fact that, A, probably not going to know who a lot of these guys are unless they are like Jackson Shellstad or Peyton Pritchard, guys from here. Probably not going to know who a lot of these guys are. You're going to deal with a lot of transfers, and you're probably going to deal with some pretty bad basketball in November and December. Good news is there should be good football being played then, and probably even in January. But more often than not, by March, when it counts, Dana Altman's going to get it figured out. Now, that's not always a guarantee. But I remember when the heat was cranking up on Ernie Kent's seat, and it was clear that the fan base, and I know this because I used to host a radio show, and I used to take calls back then. Sorry, I don't do it anymore. I had too much stuff to say. But the heat was always like, just want to make the tournament every year. Because I remember I would pose the question, is it better to go to the Elite Eight, which is what Oregon did, than miss the tournament for 3 years? Or lose in the first or second round, but go to the tournament every year?
Ask me. My school's in that same.
Boom.
Same. We went to an Elite Eight in a COVID year, and I think Oregon this year was a little bit better, but the 2 years after, I think they won a combined 11 games. Then
you just want to be part of the, like, that's the thing. We have shifted. This is going to be kind of a theme. Hold that thought, because I'm going to come back to you. I'm not going to completely cut you off. But this is going to be a theme of the show today, which is a money deal. NCAA has shifted all of their focus on March Madness, right? Every basketball promotion, March Madness, March Madness, March Madness. That's where the money is. So you get this elevated, like, I want to be part of it. 68 teams get into this thing. And I think kind of that's where teams like Oregon say, like, I just want to be there. I'll lose in the second round or the first round. I just want to be there. Is that fair?
It's tough. I had this conversation with my brother yesterday, and, he said he went to school.
Shout out to Brogan.
I know. Yeah, he
is associate producer on this program.
He is.
In title only. It intends into $0.
Hey, you never know, right? He's going to Oregon State next year. Might have another Brenden coming up the pipeline.
If he ever gets in sports media, I will tell. He is allowed, even though I've never met him, he is allowed to put associate producer, Rip City Mornings, because he brings a lot of good topics.
He does, but very, very on brand yesterday, Justin. We made a comment. We're like, oh, wouldn't, where's Oregon State? And he goes, oh yeah, kids at school were flicking me stuff for that right away. Like, hey, nice bracket. Where are your Beavers? Right? Mm-hmm. And the shoe fits, and you kind of got to own it. It's tough because it's been 3 years of mostly miserable basketball. Sorry, Wayne.
Yeah, just bad.
Just the way that it is. But, Justin, I go back, and it's like that run when they had no business going to the Elite Eight. You knew that team. They just got hot. They just
got super hot.
They weren't great world beaters. I'm not sure I'd trade that for anything. That was a very special moment that I'll probably remember for a very long time.
So
I think I would take the Elite Eight.
Genie in a bottle.
For the Beavers, yes.
One Elite Eight run or 4 consecutive years going to the tournament but not making the Sweet 16. 4 consecutive years, though, of going to the tournament. You don't make the Sweet 16, you might win a first-round game, but you're not going to go to the Sweet 16 or one Elite Eight run.
And how often would that Elite Eight? Like every 4 or 5 years or longer than that?
About every 4 or 5 years, yeah.
Yeah, I'd take the Elite Eight.
And then a drought.
I would.
Okay.
I would. It's
what that's opposite in Eugene, because I was leading the charge.
Yeah. That's what they say about
Ernie Kent was not a fan of old Justin. I was leading the charge because I'm like, give me now. This was before Gonzaga made Final Fours, okay? But I was like, give me the Gonzaga model. Give me the Gonzaga model.
That's true. Yeah, I mean,
which is every single year they're in it. Okay, yeah, they have that loss to UCLA where Adam Morrison is crying, right? Batista with the catch, right? But it's like they're going to be back next year, and the next year, and I think that's where Dana Altman, there was some frustration, but it's like, he's going to be back next year. And here they are. They're back. They're back in the round of 32, and they're playing his old team in Creighton. So Saturday night, I got a game to watch. Pumped up about it. All right, we're going to talk some NBA. Did they play NBA games last night? I didn't watch any of them. I didn't watch any of them. I was watching Samford get jobbed out of an upset against Kansas last night, but we will do a little round ball rock. Blazers play tonight as well, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number one. The big news in the NCAA tournament was Kentucky goes down. Kentucky goes down. Is John Calipari done? We may dive into that a little bit later on, but this is the point of the show where we talk about the NBA. Now, there was a handful of NBA games yesterday. That's right. There were actually NBA games yesterday. Here's a fascinating thing. In two of those games, the leading scorer of their team happened to be Kentucky Wildcats. De'Aaron Fox led the Kings in a loss to the Wizards. What? But De'Aaron Fox led the way, and the Suns were led by 30 points by Devin Booker. Here's the other thing about those two guys, along with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, along with a handful of other players, they did not win national championships at Kentucky. Now, Kentucky has banked on putting guys into the NBA. That is their system. Is the system working? Who knows? But the list now continues to grow because what is it? Reed Shelton or Reed Shepherd? Reed Shepherd.
Reed Shepherd.
Why do I want to call him Reed Shelton? I don't know.
You like the Shelton? Yeah, interesting.
But Reed Shepherd is going to add to the list of Kentucky players who did not win a national championship, who were drafted into the NBA, and it's going to be fascinating to see what he ultimately ends up becoming. But when you look at the list of all-stars, of scoring leaders in the NBA currently, and of course in the last 5-10 years, they're littered with Kentucky players. So here we are with the help of John Tesh and Roundball Rock, Kentucky players who did not win NCAA championships. Here we go. All right, Brenden, to the list.
To the list we go, Justin, and it is a good one. Like I said and teased you before, the list includes 7 NBA All-Stars, and if you can believe it,
By the way, 2 top 10 scorers in the league right now in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Devin Booker, 2 in the league right now.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize, this is crazy, Jamal Murray has not been named an NBA All-Star.
Yeah,
which is
the injury.
Pretty nuts.
Because remember, he had that whole bubble run.
Yep.
And the bubble run kind of put him and Donovan Mitchell, kind of put them both on the map.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And then he tore his ACL the next year. And then Jokic became
Jokic.
Yeah.
But
still a dude.
Oh, yeah, totally. I love Jamal Murray. But let's start in 2013, Justin, the 6th overall pick, Nerlens Noel.
Yeah, Nerlens Noel, that was a team. They made the NIT, that team, believe it or not. But, yeah, no Final Four for Nerlens Noel.
Yeah, 2014, Julius Randle.
Yeah, forgot about Julius Randle.
Most improved player and a 3-time All-Star.
3-time All-Star. Did not win a national championship for Kentucky.
2015 was a stacked group. You had Karl Anthony Towns going number 1 overall. Willie Cauley-Stein went 6th overall. Trey Lyles went 12th. Devin Booker went 13th.
Yeah.
Just pretty stacked team, 2
Willie
All-Stars.
Cauley-Stein, Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns. Did not. Now, they did make the Final Four. So, lost to Wisconsin, Kaminsky.
I mentioned him earlier this week, baby.
But they did make the Final Four, but that's still insane. That
2016, our boy Jamal Murray, followed by Justin, I don't know if you remember, Portland Trailblazers' own Skal Labissiere.
How could you forget Skal Labissiere? But not an All-Star, still in the NBA, though, and a first-round pick. Was he a first-round pick?
He was, 28th.
28th.
But still first round?
And still did not win a national title at Kentucky. All right.
We're up to 2017. Oh, this is a good group.
This is insane, by the way. This many NBA players.
Oh, yeah. You're going to love this one. How does this trio not win a title knowing what we know about them now? De'Aaron Fox.
Boom.
Malik Monk.
He's not bad.
Bam Adebayo.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Did not win a national title.
Okay. 2018.
Continuing on.
2018, it gets better. 4 dudes that are in NBA rotations. Kevin Knox. Okay. Blazers tried that experiment.
He's a G-Leaguer. But still first-round pick.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
He might be the MVP.
Jared Vanderbilt, who's carved out a very nice 6th, 7th, 8th man on the roll league.
Still in the NBA.
And Hamidou Diallo, who was the dunk contest champion and also hung around in the league for a little bit. So that's another year.
Boom. Keep going.
2019, P.J. Washington.
Okay. Did he have a Blazer stint?
No, he's with the Mavericks. Had only been with the Hornets and Mavericks.
Okay.
Yep. So he's a pretty good player. I like him. Tyler Hero.
Boom. Tyler Hero.
And Keldon Johnson, who's on a max contract with the Spurs.
3.
2020.
Keep going.
Tyrese Maxey, who's going to be
pretty good.
Max player. Emmanuel Quickley, starting guard for the Raptors.
No, wait. None of these guys have won national titles.
No. Nope. 2020. Yeah,
2021?
Yeah. No first round pick there.
What happened?
2022.
Is that COVID?
Isaiah
a lot of
Jackson.
opt-outs because COVID.
Yeah, I don't remember Isaiah Jackson. He went late first round, but not much there. 2022. Why did they not win a title with Ty Washington and Shaden Sharp? Where?
Well, Shaden didn't play, so we can't really.
I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. And that's it. 2023.
But that's so many players.
Yeah.
There's
like
so many
15
NBA players that have not won national championships at Kentucky. By the way, we didn't even go to the before the Anthony Davis because you've got the John Wall. There's a handful of other guys before. Unbelievable. I see why they're frustrated. I can see why they're mad. All right, coming up, we got hour number 2. We got to make her miss. Shohei Ohtani thing's getting crazy. I have some money questions with regard to Shohei Ohtani. And speaking of baseball, the Marlins have a deal of all deals. We'll talk about that at hour number 2 next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. The madness has begun. The first half of the first round is now in the books. Pac-12 goes 3-0. Add that to a Colorado win in the first four. That is a cool $8 million to the coffers of Washington State and Oregon State. Arizona, Oregon, Washington State all get wins in the first round yesterday. Colorado coming up later today, they'll be playing against Florida. But the biggest upset was Kentucky as they go down to the Golden Grizzlies of Oakland. That's in Michigan, not in California. And the hot seat around John Calipari continues to heat up. Blazers back in action tonight. They'll be taking on once again the LA Clippers. Tip time at 7 o'clock at Moda Center. Hour number 2 of Rip City Mornings gets underway right now on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. We got Make or Miss coming up in 20 minutes. We have got an interesting thing going on with the Miami Marlins. I don't know if this is awesome or desperate. Could be a bit of both. But the Miami Marlins have got an interesting promotional section in their baseball stadium. Speaking of baseball, I've got questions about this Shohei Ohtani thing. All right, I've got some questions. Because, as I have said on this particular program, I say this to Brenden all the time. If something is confusing, if something is perplexing, if you just can't make heads nor tails of a certain situation, there is an easy way to maybe try to figure it out. You follow the money. You follow, like, what is going on here? Well, let's follow the money. Who's profiting off of this? How is money being spent? So I'm going to give like a rough timeline of the Shohei Ohtani thing. And it's all a rough timeline because stories have been changed multiple times in multiple languages. And to the point now where Shohei Ohtani isn't talking, and it might be because he doesn't want to say anything, and it might be because his interpreter was fired and he really doesn't have the opportunity to talk because he doesn't have an interpreter that he trusts. But here's essentially the rough timeline. I believe back in January, investigators found the $4.5 million from Shohei Ohtani's bank account that was transferred to a California bookmaker. Now, here's the thing you got to understand about the state of California, or the Republic of California. They do not have legalized sports betting. You have to go to a tribal casino to play sports bet. You can't get on the DraftKings app in California. They don't have it. So if you want to bet on sports, you got to go to the casino, or you got to go through a bookmaker. Yes, Brenden.
Real quick, with that, because you know what I was thinking about yesterday? Shout out our guest yesterday, Jim Moore.
Jim Moore is
who is feeling real good this morning because he said 2 times on the broadcast, like, I dropped 250 on my Cougs.
Yes.
Then it got me thinking, how did he do that? Probably stopped at a casino over there somewhere.
Probably did. Yeah. Because that was like Washington recently, I think within this last year, legalized sports betting in casinos. Now, they don't have the app on the phone. Just like we have sports betting, but we can't bet on college on our phone.
I have to go to the casinos.
That has probably saved me so much money.
I would have put so much on the Beavs by now. Probably. Yeah, it's very true.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
Like, I know I'm a big dumb doofus when it comes to the NBA, so I'll put a couple of bucks here or there. NFL, I'll throw some parlays out there on a Sunday. I think I'm really smart on college football. My dumb confidence would cost me so much money. So it's probably a good thing that you cannot bet on college sports. And also, you know, my heart is with college sports more than any other place. So that being said, you can't bet on sports in California. So that's why red flag. I don't know if it was the FBI. I don't know if it was the IRS. I don't know if it was the SEC, not the Southeastern Conference, but the Securities and Exchange Committee. They're the ones that took down Gordon Gekko.
Also kind of took down BlackBerry.
Did they?
Kind of.
Spoiler alert. Oh, spoiler alert.
I said kind of.
Spoiler alert, everybody's got iPhones. But
You should know how that ends.
I know it ends with me not having a BlackBerry anymore. Anyways, I don't know what is that the Securities and Exchange Commission, right? But they have jurisdiction. So, like, they're the ones that'll see, like, what's with all this? A lot of trading going on.
Betting,
in this.
stocks,
Yeah.
all that.
They took
kind of
down
stuff.
Jordan Belfort.
Yeah,
Was that Coach Taylor on the movie? Was he SEC or was he FBI?
He was FBI aided by SEC data. The SEC has all the data.
They got all the data.
They go, let's pull it in our computer. Oh, wait, you're betting all this money? That doesn't line up. Okay, FBI on the phone.
And the IRS gets involved going like, you're not. Anyways, $4.5 million. They're like, what's going on there?
Have taxes been paid on
That's
that?
a lot. Well, also, like, this is a bookmaker probably under investigation, which is illegal in California. And I don't think anybody cares in California about betting. I think they care about collecting taxes. And I'm not from the great state of California, but I have heard they're very fond of taxes down there.
That's what I've heard.
I've heard they are like super ecstatic about it. But anyway,
Doesn't stop the Lakers, though. Just to throw that out there.
You know that is an emotional thing with me. And you
It's
know
Friday.
that if you,
I love you, Justin.
that if you just lob that, so I can't just. Yeah. Blazers,
Doesn't bother the Warriors either.
Blazers can't get players because of taxes.
I'd say weather's a bigger issue.
No, I don't think weather is either. Hasn't stopped the Philadelphia 76ers and the Milwaukee Bucks, who have awful weather. Hasn't
That's
stopped
fair.
them. Blazers can't get players because of taxes. Oh, state income tax. It's a state income tax. Warriors, championships. Lakers, championships. The Clippers might be the best team in the West right now. New York Knicks, a lot of taxes there, from what I've been told. Taxes. All right. But they're so $4.5 million. It moved. Why? How? Who knows? Initial story was Shohei Ohtani is covering his buddy's gambling debt. I just signed a $700 million deal. Because that's the crazy thing about all of this, right? Shohei Ohtani just signed a $700 million deal. So think about it in terms of units. We look at it and go, $4.5 million, that's insane. Brenden, if I had $700 in my pocket and you said, hey, I'd like a fancy coffee on a Friday. Can I borrow $450? I'd be like, no problem. Here you go. I wouldn't think twice about it. Heck, if I had $20 in my pocket and you said, can I borrow $4.50? I'd be like, sure, okay. That's what we're talking about in terms of units here. Like, but, again, we're going to follow this money, though. So Shohei's guy has allegedly accrued $4.5 million in gambling debts, betting on sports, not baseball. More on that in a moment. Shohei's like, I'm covering for him. Don't worry about it. And then the story changes. Story changes. Right? No. This was theft. This was interpreter who may or may not have, and I don't know the relationship because it's more than just an interpreter. He's like I watched The West Wing, right? It's called, I think it's called The Body Man for the president. It was Charlie? Yeah. Charlie Young was the body man for the president. He's the guy that, he's an assistant. He's helping him with everyday tasks more than just, he says, thank you very much. Like, he's more than just an interpreter. So maybe somehow, some way he had access to funds. So then, now this is a massive theft. And the feds are investigating. And now, the Dodgers have fired him. And now questions are arising. And here's a couple of questions I have. If, in fact, you are such a bad gambler that you are losing, in essence, up to $4.5 million as an interpreter. I said this yesterday. Am I going to believe you weren't betting on baseball when you knew the starting pitcher? You not only you knew the starting pitcher, you're there for the mound visits. You're a part of the team. You've accrued $4.5 million of gambling debts betting allegedly on sports. Hey, you're not betting on baseball? Wait just a stinking minute. It doesn't pass the sniff test. All right, so let's get past that. Now we allegedly, according to Mitsuhara, who is the interpreter, he's told ESPN that he is paid between $300,000 and $500,000 annually. That's a nice little chunk of change right there, Brenden. $300,000. Let's split it. Let's split the difference. Let's just say he makes $400,000 a year. He lives in California. Take-home pay probably around $200,000 after, everybody gets a bite at that apple. Expenses. Now, I dabble on my DraftKings app. That's it. I don't do, and luckily, I'm not a gambler at casinos. I am not a blackjack guy. If I did, I'd play the $5 table. They're hard to find. How does a guy making $400,000 take home at best $250,000 rack up a gambling debt 9 times the size of his take-home pay? How do you rack up $4.5 million?
He had access to a bank account that had millions in it. That's what I think. That's what I think.
Or
if you were to ask, that's what I think.
But how? So does the bookie know that he's Shohei's interpreter? Does the I'm saying if I'm a bookie in California, I'm like, homie, you're at $2.5 million. No, we're time to pay the piper. You make $400K a year. You're not Shohei Ohtani. You're Shohei Ohtani's interpreter. Or is he making bets for somebody who makes around $700 million over the next 10 years or so? I don't know. That's where the money doesn't add.
Yeah, I'd be a bit
how does a guy who is allegedly working on his own, rogue, as we heard about Tim Donaghy, rogue agent who makes about $400,000 a year, how do you rack? Now, maybe I am ignorant, right? Maybe I am ignorant, and maybe somebody out there who has been deep into the gambling world is like, Justin, it's not that hard. And maybe it's not. I don't know. I could be speaking out of pocket here. I could be over my skis. I don't know. But it seems as though somebody with a big, big, big bank account would have to be backing somebody making those kind of bets. And wouldn't that be a very big problem for Major League Baseball to know that a man who has just signed a $700 million contract with arguably the second most popular franchise in all of sports has got a $4.5 million gambling debt illegally? It'd be a bit of a problem for Major League Baseball, right? Isn't it a much easier solution to just say, yeah, it was this interpreter, he's now fired. Nothing else to see here. Pay no attention to the man behind the mirror or behind the curtain. I'm just asking questions. Because
it's hard to say, obviously, and like Justin said yesterday, we're probably never going to know.
Because also there's another part of this. Here's the other part of this, real quick. I lived through the steroid era of baseball, and the steroid era of baseball was very interesting in terms of the selective prosecution. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were, quote unquote, saving baseball in 1998. And we're like, those guys look like bodybuilders. They must really be hitting the gym. Then Barry Bonds, guy we didn't like, gets busted with Balco. They're like, we can't have this. This is cheating. This is the integrity of the game, blah, 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 blah. So everybody got after Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. Guys we didn't like, kept him out of the Hall of Fame, still to this day. Then we saw later, hey, we really like Big Papi. Mitchell reports leak Big Papi's using steroids. We're just going to ignore that. We're going to let him into the Hall of Fame because we like Big Papi. Other guys busted for steroids in the Hall of Fame. Jeff Bagwell on the list in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds can't get in. Selective. It made it so easy to bust Pete Rose back in the late 80s and early 90s for gambling because we didn't like Pete Rose. Right? He was Charlie Hustle when he played, but he was a bit of a jerk. Right? Had some other things, by the way, with regard to significant others who were not of age. Google it. You'll see what I'm talking about. But it made it easy because Pete Rose was defiant and he thumbed his nose and he's like, you guys are all idiots. And I was like, but now the face of baseball is, because Shohei Ohtani he is the most popular, famous baseball player in the world. And it's not particularly close. That guy is involved in precedent setting can really handcuff you. It really can. I just want to know how a guy who makes $400,000 a year racks up a $4.5 million debt. Maybe that's just how it works. I don't know. We got Make or Miss coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. By the way, have you heard the Morgan Wallen Post Malone 30-second little?
Oh, it's epic.
It's a banger.
It's my guy, man.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
Posty,
I'm not
man.
the biggest Post Malone fan.
Yeah.
I was skeptical because I am a country guy, and I'm like face tattoo guy getting into country. We already got one of those. We got the Jelly Roll.
Posty was super big like 5-6 years ago when I was in school. He's kind of fallen down a little bit. So
well, he got rich and got a little bit weird, right? Moved out of the Hollywood, moved to Utah. And now he's like coming back with all this country stuff, which again, the more the merrier. The more people that listen to country music, I am a fan of. Beyonce's doing it now. Post Malone's doing it now. Everybody's jumping on board. I'm not one of these gatekeepers. I'm not one of these like, you remember Lil Nas X? Remember we're like, oh,
how could we forget Lil Nas?
Lil Nas X was did the Old Town Road. And Old Town Road, and it was awesome. It was well, I don't know if it's country. It's like, yeah, it is. That's a country song. He may not be a country artist, but that's a country song.
Yeah, take me back to 2019.
I was like, I don't know if that's a country song. It's like, what about when Trace Adkins did Honky Tonk Badunk-a-Dunk? All right, how about when he did that? That was a country song. It's like Beyonce's new song, the Texas Hold'em. That's a country song. It is.
Is she in a country transition, Justin?
I believe she says she's getting back to her Texas roots from Houston. I think there's a big fat audience of people that like country songs, and they're like, so I'm not a gatekeeper. If it's good, I'm in. Let's do it. If you're pandering and if you're posing, if you're doing a little cosplay, I got no time for you. But that Post Malone 30 seconds is pretty good. It's pretty awesome.
I saw it drop Wednesday night, and I showed my buddy at the bar, and I was
But it's only 30 seconds.
Yeah, it was. I was like, whew, this sounds really good.
But, yeah, like it's I was a little skeptical because
two of my favorite artists coming together, man.
I'm like, Post Malone's going to do is he going to be able to pull this off? Now, again.
The things that us kids say, the collab we didn't know we needed, but needed.
But that 30 seconds, and I'm like, I'm definitely going to give this a chance.
Not released today, though. Kind of was bummed out. I looked for it this morning. So it must be a couple more weeks.
Oh, it's a ways away. This is what they do. I know the playbook. Like, you see something teased on Instagram or on TikTok or on Reels or whatever, give it at least 3 weeks because it's going to build up. Because here's what happens. You don't know this because you're not on TikTok. It might be on the Instagram Reels, but they'll tease like a song, right? And then what happens is on TikTok, you can either stitch, which means a video on top of a video. But if somebody teases a song, you can then take that song and put it in your own video. And so what they do is they'll put out these 30-second snippets. Then all the TikTokers do all the promo for them by taking that and go like, have you heard this? Have you heard? And that builds and builds and builds. It's going to be 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They would never just drop a hint and then put it out 3 days later. They let the TikTokers do the work for them. And the reelers, is that what they're called? They're YouTubers and they're what? Is Instagram the only place where they're influencers?
Yeah, because you wouldn't call anyone
because if you're on TikTok as an influencer, you're a TikToker. And if you are on YouTube, you're a YouTuber, right? Jake Paul was a YouTuber. That was how he was described to me. Instagram has the influencers. Would you say there's an influencer on YouTube? They're YouTubers, right?
Yeah, they're YouTubers.
What do Facebookers? What are we called? Oh,
Gen
we're called
X,
old.
Gen X.
We're called old. That's what we
just
are.
Gen X.
Got it.
Gen X is fine.
Actually, I've noticed more and more of my generation. We're just kind of out. We're on the whole thing. Boomers love the Facebook. They do. I said the Facebook because that's what they call it. The boomers love like moms and grandmas, first days of school. All they love it. The kids, it's short attention span. Reels, shorts. Snapchat goes away. Can't see it. Somebody sees it, by the way. Again, I don't. Oh, no, it's a Snapchat. It goes away forever. Somebody sees that.
Less invasive than TikTok. At least it doesn't go to China.
Very true, but somebody sees it. And then I've noticed, like, people my age are like, we're there, but we're like, And which is a very Gen X thing to do. It's like, we're going to show up, but we're not going to participate.
Yeah, I feel it.
It's like I have a Facebook account. I don't post. I haven't accepted a friend request. I'm like, I don't want any of this. It's too much work.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
I have an Instagram thing, and I tell people, you are free to, it's not private, it's public. If you want to follow me on Instagram, go ahead. Stuff my wife puts up.
I don't post any sports things on Instagram. It's my personal life outside of sports, my journeys, my vacations, my this, my that.
All right, let's play a fun little game real quick.
Sure.
Fun little game. I'm going to open up my Instagram profile.
Sure. And while he looks that up real quick, like to the point, Justin, I kind of like these collabs. Like I think back a couple years ago when Morgan did a couple with Lil Durk, and Lil Durk obviously,
They had the Broadway Girls.
Yeah.
That song's a banger.
Yeah, like, Lil Durk was not a country guy, so it's like that yeah, so that was I'm looking forward to this in a bigger sense. But to your point on Instagram.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got about 40 pictures that I have on my Instagram.
Okay, I guess I should.
How many would you bet are my dog?
At least half.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like 18. Like 8, like a third. You were close. And by the way, I didn't even go into when you open it up and because I put like 4 pictures of my dog in there. Dog, food, mostly drinks that I'm having to make. Because when I'm drinking in the sunshine, I post it up there to make people jealous. That's what we have Instagram for, right? It's to make our friends jealous. I might, like when I'm in Mexico next week, Instagram might be hopping for me because I'm here and you're not.
That's how mine was.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of Gen Xers my age was like I'm on Instagram. I very rarely participate. My Instagram stories, they're all just repost what my wife puts up because she's good at the pictures, and I'm just like, yeah, that looks good. That looks good. So I'm there. I'm just not gonna participate, which is like a very Gen X thing to do. Anyways, I had a thing on Shohei Ohtani, but how is it you get $4.5 million in debt? This is the last thing I'm just going to post this question. Not a discussion, just a question. You get $4.5 million in debt, allegedly from sports gambling. That's a pretty penny in debt. You didn't bet on baseball at all. You're losing your shorts. You're losing your shorts. You're not going to be tempted one time? Just a little quick little. Let me get a winner. Let me get a winning streak going. I know the bullpen's a little depleted. Like, I know what's going on with the Angels right now. I know who's hurt. I know. Maybe just, one time you tell me that's not $4.5 million in debt and you never touch the what was it in the you never plucked from the tree of knowledge? That's what it is, right? The forbidden fruit of the tree of knowledge. You have the knowledge.
Forbidden apple, right? So the story goes.
Was it an apple?
Like a bite of the apple you're not supposed to take?
Yeah, I don't know if it was an actual. There's a lot of translation. I don't know an awful lot about it. I know that it was from the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge, and you're telling me you're like, I'm drowning in debt. You're gonna take a little bite of that apple if it is an apple. Anyways, just a thought. Just a thought. Not one bet on baseball. Not one. Okay. Sure, I believe you. Ready for make or miss? Let's go. It's like, with Tim Donaghy, it's like, yeah, I gave out tips to the mob about games that I was officiating, but I never bet on them. I just bet on football. Homie, you're officiating the game, and you are in debt. You didn't fix one?
It's true.
Not one. Your integrity is that airtight. Come on now.
I was way wrong, Justin.
Come on.
There's lots of things that apparently you were right. It is forbidden fruit.
Forbidden fruit. Yeah, we
And
all
it
just
could
believed it.
be-
We always thought it was an apple.
Yeah, could be an apple, could be a grape.
Was there a quince in there?
Sorry?
A quince.
It sure is.
Boom.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
I know some things.
Yeah, good for you, man.
That was in.
Anyway.
You want to know how I know that? About a quince?
Sure, yeah.
The Jeopardy scene in White Men Can't Jump. Foods that start with the letter Q. Do you watch White Men Can't Jump?
Yeah.
The Jeopardy scene when Gloria is she's in the zone, man. Foods that start with the letter Q. A quince. What is a quahog? Yeah.
Never,
These are the things that are in my head. These are the things that I remember.
you never, and again, I think I know the answer.
This is the dumb memory the good Lord gave me.
Did you ever see the remake they made with Jack Harlow?
All right,
My brother told me to watch it, and I did, and there was some. Jack Harlow's great, man.
Whoa. Can I say something? I try not to have hate in my heart. I try to have joy and love. And I don't know if I say I hate Jack Harlow, but I really don't like him. I don't like
What
that
did
guy.
Jack ever do to you?
He ruined College Game Day one time. I hear that Vanilla Baby song so much. And it's like, you can't rhyme baby with baby with baby with baby. Like, that is not talent. That is not talent.
It's been a minute since What's Poppin'. What's Poppin'?
Is that what that song's called?
Well, that was his.
What's the Vanilla Baby song? Sticks and Stones or something like that?
It's a good question. You're asking the wrong person only because
I hear that song and I'm like, you guys all realize he's rhyming the same word, right? It's the one thing we have about music is it rhymes.
I'll say this.
And it's just like, that's the same word. That's not rhyming. That is repeating.
We
just like when Future sang Jumpman, 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 Jumpman.
That's
Like, that's not rhyming.
That's a great song.
It is not.
Oh, that's a great
Brenden,
song.
it's just a repeating song.
That's March Madness, man.
Then he said the boys up to something, Jumpman, but they said Jumpman, Jumpman. Like, it's.
How did MJ not sue him? That's what I'd like to know.
That's a good question.
Is it not a fair question? How did Michael
Maybe
Jordan?
MJ was smart enough to be like,
That's
gonna. I'm gonna look like old man yells at cloud. I'm already making a bill. If anything, this song is gonna make more people buy my shoes, which that money comes to me.
Michael would be that calculating.
He's playing chess.
Yeah, he would be. He would
not checkers.
That's great. All right, let's.
Yeah, I don't like Jack Harlow.
Yeah, no, like I said, to that point, Justin, we mentioned him earlier. Collab he had with Lil Nas X. Oh man, that's still a banger.
Is it? I don't.
Yeah, I know Justin hasn't been into the new music.
I'm not.
So that's what my point. Like, when was the song you listened to with Jack Harlow? You don't listen to new music.
At the gym, I am not in charge of the music.
Okay.
And I am not happy about that.
Okay.
I wish I was. I
Makes
wish I
sense.
was in charge of the music.
Yeah, his last couple albums haven't been it. So that would make some sense. Like, Jack Harlow about 2020.
We have a very, eclectic, a great, which is why I love the gym I go to. Shout out VC Fitness. Give them a free shout out. But, it's everything from, kids in their 20s to, people in their 60s. And we're there and we're working out. But, the music skews a little young. And it's, every once in a while, that's how I learned who Dua Lipa was.
Yo, dude, she's great.
Now, Dua Lipa's got some songs. I am a fan.
Levitating with the Baby. That's a good song, too.
That's how I learned about BB Rexa. That's who BB Rexa was.
You didn't know about BB Rexa when she's actually...
Between the gym and my wife is how I learned about
I
stuff.
learned that, BB Rexa and a couple others, a lot of these people that are coming up now, they made their mark as kind of songwriters in, the mid-2000s. So I learned BB Rexa did, some songwriting for, Eminem and some others and, just kind of... It's interesting to see people kind of, pay their dues and be like, oh, wait, Calvin Harris at one point was a producer. DJ Khaled at one point was a DJ. Now he makes albums.
He does not do anything.
No, he just makes albums with a bunch of awesome people.
He puts his name on
together.
it.
Collab.
Other people do all the work.
Yeah, he's a collab artist.
DJ Khaled is the guy in science class that's put my name on the project. And it's like, but you didn't do any work.
He's like, but
So,
but
yeah,
I
but
brought
I'm in the group,
snacks.
though.
But he's like, I brought the snacks and the recording studio.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I brought the snacks.
I feel it. Nope.
You guys write the 20-page paper.
Call a spade
Throw
a
my
spade.
name on the at the end of it. But
Yeah, totally. He mixes up cool sounds. Not gonna.
does he even mix the cool sounds? Or does the other people make the cool sounds and he just goes?
He probably has some
he
producers
just goes,
that help.
We the best, and they're like, boy, that's genius.
True. All right, let's get into at least one make or miss because I put a lot of effort in today's edition.
Well, here's the fun thing. We might do this at 8 o'clock. We don't have a guest at 8 o'clock.
It's
Everybody
true.
else is March Madnessing. Brenden got snubbed 50 different ways from Sunday for a guest on March Madness
like 11,
Friday
but
because
yeah.
everybody wants to watch games and nobody wants to come on the show, and that's fine. We don't need no stinking guests on this particular program, especially when I'm jacked up on fancy coffee. So we may actually do a little make or miss because if you worked hard on them, we need to do them in the 8 o'clock hour.
Yeah, no, I see. That's the beautiful thing. I still got you for Monday, so you never know. It's before you leave me high and dry for much warmer, humid temperatures.
77.
I'm very jealous of.
I
But
have it
hey,
on-
you know,
I have it
I
on
get
my
it.
phone.
Like I said, I get it. I've done it twice.
I have it on my phone.
All right, let's get into this one at least. Justin, I don't know if you saw this headline last night, but I'm about ready to put my foot in the ground. Mark Few is a grumpy old man yelling at the cloud.
What did he say?
So
First off, Mark Few, 541 guy.
I respected him until
my
this
brother from the 541. My brother from this. Well, I was in the Far West League, but at one point, Douglas High School was in the Sky M Conference, which played against the Crestwell Bulldogs. So we have a kinship there. What did Mark Few say?
So, Justin, actually, I know we said not to say this, but it makes sense here. Very apropos. At the Gonzaga-McNeese game, I'm sure you, as well as anyone else watching, knew the game was over pretty quick. Gonzaga was up by 20 in the
Beating
first
the
half.
dog out of
Yeah,
them.
just absolutely over.
I turned the game off because that was about the time when
Yes.
I
I think that was Oakland.
Oakland was getting going.
Yeah, so I was like, no, I'm out on this. And I think Cleveland, Texas and Colorado State was getting close too. But anyway, all that to say, Justin, in the arena, because it was a blowout, they put Oakland, Kentucky on the big screen.
In the middle of the game?
Yes.
They should not be doing that.
Mark Few proceeded to say, we don't need that. It's the NCAA tournament. It's the biggest game of their lives. Then said, everybody needs to enjoy the game at hand. It doesn't need to be like the Few House where we're flipping channels every 10 seconds and not watching the show we're supposed to be watching.
Okay, so we got, 90 seconds. First off, 100% wholeheartedly agree with Mark Few. Wholeheartedly
Never brought it up.
agree with Mark Few. Secondly, if I'm reading between the lines here, Mark Few, this is not about a basketball game going on. Mark Few is not happy with who has the remote in his house. I think Mark Few is just like, can we just leave it on one channel, please? We're watching this show. Why are we flipping around? Like,
Kids don't do that, Justin.
I know they just look at their phone.
Well, no. I mean, it's just like even myself, like we've discussed.
I feel like this is more about Mark Few's household thing than
Fair.
actually what's going on.
Well,
right? I
apparently
feel
they
like there's a deeper issue here of like, they put the game on just like in my house.
Well,
when my
apparently-
family won't put it on, like.
Apparently, they put it on. They took it off. Every fan in the arena started to boo insistently for like 2 solid minutes.
I swear they're
Then
in
they
Salt,
put it
they're in
back
Salt
on.
Lake City, right?
I
Yeah.
had it open. I just closed
They're
it.
in Salt Lake City.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
almost
yeah.
positive they're in Salt Lake City.
So
They're
interesting.
playing where the Jazz play. I don't remember what it's called. It used to be called the Delta Center. I doubt it's still called the Delta Center. But they're in Salt Lake City. Brenden, they got Wi-Fi in the arena. I go to Moda, they got Wi-Fi. Toyota gives me the Wi-Fi. Thank you to Toyota. You got Wi-Fi in the arena. Watch the game on your phone. You don't need it on the big screen. Watch it on your phone.
To your point, Justin, for the first time since 2006, it is the Delta Center again. Delta won. They took a quick little 15-year break, and they're like, we're back, baby.
I agree with Mark Few. 5-4-1 solidarity, coach. I'm with you.
For the record, I don't, but that's okay.
Could you imagine, though, you're playing a game and you're just like, everybody's looking up at the other game as you're playing?
So I'm going to use this as a personal example. I expect my Beavers to beat Eastern Washington like a round drum tonight. If they say, oh, my gosh, Iowa.
Do they got a screen in there?
Well, in the middle, yeah.
They do? Okay,
Yeah. You haven't been to Gill since they did the whole brand new scoreboard in the
Yeah,
middle.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. So now you got full screens, fully 360.
So you want them putting on other games while this game's going on?
If the Beavers were crushing like that, up 20
like
plus.
high school football, right? Like they created the 40-point rule when I was in high school because we were crushing teams.
Nice.
But or 45. It was the 45-point rule. If there's like a 25-point cutoff.
I don't know. I mean, I just wouldn't have a problem with it if they're like, okay, this game's kind of in hand. Look at this game that's on massive upset alert.
But you're there.
I know.
Feet on the ground. Be present. God, go flip with your phone somewhere else.
I get attacked.
All right. Miami Marlins are doing something interesting.
Yes, they are.
And I wonder, is this desperate or is this actually kind of cool? We'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we'll get back to some more NCAA tournament talk. $8 million, by the way, coming to the Pac-12. Pac-2, $8 million so far. Got 3 teams in to the second round. Colorado's got a chance. They got a first 4 win. That counts as $2 million.
It's actually slightly more than that, Justin. John Wilner tweeted last night that I think it's up to $16 million now, regardless of what other things happen, and it can only continue to grow. So I'll take it, man.
So $8 million per is what it looks like. $8 million per for Washington State. Washington State helped out their own cause last night with a nice win. Good for the Cougs. Good for the Cougs. Fun to watch.
Our good buddy Jim Moore is living on a dream today, man. He's loving life, and I couldn't be happier for him. He was a little nervous yesterday.
It is funny how we do this with the NCAA tournament. The Pac-12 was down this year. There's no two ways about it. When you look at all the statistics and the analytics and the net rating and all that stuff, right? The Pac-12 was down, and part of it was because UCLA was down and Stanford was down, right? And those are 2 usually pretty prominent programs. It's been a minute since Stanford men's basketball has been in the mix. They used to be a wagon, but UCLA is kind of like the USC football, right? When USC football is down, what's wrong with the Pac-12? We'll never have that discussion ever again. But UCLA basketball is kind of that way in the Pac-12 when they're down. But, man, performance in the tournament can turn everything around. And all of a sudden, Oregon, Arizona, Washington State, Colorado's got a chance later on today for the Pac-12. I said 2 weeks ago that basketball went out with a bang, football went out with a bang. Washington playing for a national title, Oregon right there in the mix, Arizona, Oregon State, 10-win plus programs, and the basketball was kind of leaving with a whimper. Not so much. One last scare from the Pac-12. Like the Walking Dead show, even though I didn't watch Walking. Did you watch Walking Dead? I didn't.
I gave up after about 5 seasons.
I'm not a zombie guy.
I was into it for a while, and that got a little too weird.
Yeah, I'm not a zombie guy, but I know that the whole thing is that zombies, you think they're dead, and then they come back and scare you, and that's what the Pac-12 is doing.
Pretty much.
In the tournament. Did want to get to this real quick. But we'll get back to some more tournament stuff coming up. The Miami Marlins posted this a couple of days ago. New promotion going on at Marlins Ballpark. I don't know is it still called the Marlins Ballpark? Excuse me.
Lone
Depot Park.
Yeah. Not Home Depot. Lone Depot. Yes.
Feast seats. That's right. Feast seats at Lone Depot Park. They are now offering fans in a particular section starting at $52. $52 will get you a ticket into the ballpark and, other than alcoholic beverages, all you can eat food for 7 innings. Through the end of the 7 innings, feast seats. Now, these include unlimited access to fire eats, non-alcoholic drinks, concession stands through the end of the 7th inning. So
gimme.
Hot dogs, chili dogs, nachos with cheese, chili nachos, cheeseburgers, popcorns, peanuts, cookies, sodas. Beers, of course, cost extra. Okay. My go-to would be hot dogs. I think I could eat 4. I think I could eat 4 hot dogs at the ballpark. I don't know how I'd feel afterwards, but I would definitely get my money on hot dogs.
Yeah, I wouldn't go burger. I'd roll hot dog too. Popcorn. For
someone
like myself, free soda is.
Yeah, you would make all the money up with the Pepsis and the Cokes and whatever it is. Looks like they're Pepsis.
They are Pepsis.
But
yeah, no, yeah, totally.
I feel like I could make up that $52 just in hot dogs. I really do.
I would crush some nachos too. I love a good ballpark nacho with that basic cheese, just so that you're it comes out of Spencer, but it's still good.
There is something beautifully trashy about the nacho with the yellow stuff. It's not cheese, but
beautifully
don't care.
Trashy.
Again, don't want to know what it is. I'm good. No government investigations, please, into the yellow stuff that they say is nacho cheese. I don't know what it is. Don't care. Don't want to know. That with some jalapenos, well, that's pretty good.
They used to make that even at like high school gyms and
Yeah.
stuff too, dude.
Oh, yeah.
But no, if you could give me, could I eat $52 worth of popcorn, hot dogs?
Popcorn would be tough. I think hot dogs and
chips
nachos you could.
Soda. Burgers would be the one thing I wouldn't necessarily reach for, but maybe they're good.
Try one. It's no good. Throw it away.
Exactly.
It's free.
Yeah. So you
All
do
right.
this though.
Boy, I like
If they
it.
had this at the Mariners game, would you do it?
This is where they would get me because I would eat all this and then I would go buy about 5 more beers. And they were like, we made our money back. All right, we have got a whole third hour coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. First half of the first round of March Madness is in the books. Pac-12 went 3-0 yesterday. Arizona gets a victory over Long Beach State. Washington State takes down Drake. And the Oregon Ducks move on to the second round as they beat South Carolina in Pittsburgh. Oregon now matches up with Creighton, former team of head coach Dana Altman. That'll be a 6:40 tip time on Saturday. Colorado next up for the Pac-12. They'll be taking on Florida later on today. But the biggest upset yesterday was the Golden Grizzlies of Oakland shocking Kentucky and sending the Wildcats home in the first round. Elsewhere, the Blazers will be returning to action tonight. They've got another matchup with the LA Clippers. Tip time is at Moda Center, 7 o'clock at Moda Center. We begin our pregame coverage at 4:30 right here on 620 Rip City Radio. We start hour number 3 of the big show right now, also on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, welcome into hour number 3, everybody. I said the theme to the show today is going to be money. As the fine folks of the Wu-Tang Clan once told us, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bills, y'all. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's money involved in almost every story on the big show today. We talked about Shohei Ohtani last hour. Follow the money. It doesn't really add up. Do you believe that if you had access to the bank account, you could steal $4.5 million? And I know Shohei Ohtani's made an awful lot of money, but remember his big $700 million contract, he deferred a lot of that money. He's not getting paid a ton of money. He deferred a lot of that money.
Well, Justin, did you know, because I actually learned this well, is that, sometimes athletes can have account managers pull the wool over their eyes a little bit. We learned all that when Rocky's accountant took all his money.
Well, it wasn't just his accountant. Well, I guess it was. He signed but it was Paulie. Paulie, his no good brother-in-law, signed a.
But Rocky went poor.
Power of attorney. You signed a power of attorney. It's like, everybody gets on Adrian because she's kind of a bit of a wet blanket, but she's the only one trying to look out for Rocky.
I'm sorry. He just comes back from beating a Soviet in the worst environment possible.
Well, by the way, Adrian didn't want him to go fight then either.
Well, and he just wanted to come home, and then he loses his house. So
if Chad Doing is listening to the program,
what up, Chad?
Open invite, call in. Was Adrian a net positive or negative in Rocky's life? Yeah. Real question. So because I know that nobody loves Rocky and the franchise more than our good friend Chad Doing. Now he's going to be doing Blazers later on. He might be trying to catch up on some Z's. I don't know, but if Chad Doing is out there and he wants to answer this question, because Rocky said in Rocky 2 when he won the title, that was the yo Adrian, I did it. I think that was Rocky 2. Because Rocky 1, he's just yelling for Adrian. Yeah. Get Chad on the line right now. Because I gotta know. She definitely tiptoed the line between supportive spouse who believed in Rocky when nobody else would, but also bit of a wet blanket and complained an awful lot when she's living in Rocky's $1 million mansion with the robot butler for Paul. Chad Doing is on the line now. Yes, I'm excited. Very rarely does this ever work out, but it is working out. Chad, how we doing, bud? How's your bracket?
Yeah, not good. Bracket sucks, but that's okay, man. It's like, well, now the tournament, as I've gotten older, it's becoming more and more unpredictable every year.
Yeah.
And now I can't even make it through day one of the tournament without everything just being shot to HE double hockey sticks.
All right. Very important question. This was not planned, but you know what? The good stuff never is. Where you love Rocky more than anybody that I know, and you've run the steps at the museum there in Philadelphia.
True.
You've had, on your multiple radio shows, you've had the Rocky theme has always been a constant. You love rock. Is Adrian supportive spouse or a bit of a wet blanket? Where are you at?
One, it's a worthy discussion. There is no question that Adrian is a supportive spouse who cares about Rocky, and one of the key in the franchise. I would make the argument, even though I'm a huge Apollo Creed fan and a important person to the franchise after Stallone himself is Adrian, because it is and Stallone will say this, it is a love story, not a boxing story. And without Adrian providing that emotion of the true love relationship between Rocky and Adrian, the franchise would fall flat and not be as successful as it is. And while, like any wife, she may get on him about some of the little things about fighting, and she was worried about the eye and his health and everything, she provided the motivation and the energy for all of his greatness. So without question, she is a net positive and one of the most important key figures in the life of Rocky Balboa.
It is. I mean, because it is a fascinating discussion. Because I don't know if he wins the title in Rocky 2 without Adrian. Right? That's when we got the "Yo, Adrian, I did it." She got it out of him in Rocky 3. Remember, he had to yell. He was afraid on the beach when him and Apollo were running in those short shorts on the beach in L.A. And she's like, what is it? And then she screamed about is it the money? All that stuff. And she got him out of it. But then by Rocky
We've
4,
got everything but the truth, damn it. What's the truth? I'm afraid. All right, you want to break me down and say I'm afraid.
There it is. You nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. But then, when she's living in Rocky in their big old mansion with Paulie's robot butler, doesn't want him to go to Russia. He wants to retire. And she lets him go and doesn't travel at the beginning. How are you not going to Moscow? Now she shows up later, but how do you not go to Moscow?
I know, and the weird part is, now I will say that there is a little bit of Giselle in her, because I feel like Giselle was trying to pull a little bit of Adrian on Tom Brady, where it's like, she started getting upset because of the hits and the, potential head trauma, and then she got upset because he decided to play another year, and it's like, wait a second. You married Tom Brady. He loves football more than anything, and now you're surprised and upset that he wants to play one more year. It's like, come on. A boxer is no different than a football player.
Mm-hmm.
You get one shot at your career, and when you shut it down, you're pretty much done. You can't go back. So it's like, why don't you just support your husband and let him go out there and pursue that passion and give it one more run instead of finding a jiu-jitsu trainer to hang out with? It's ridiculous.
Well, Chad joining us on the big show. We didn't know we'd take a left turn. Boy, to have Chad
wait a
on.
second, it's weird. We've gone like 5 minutes, and my phone hasn't dropped off yet. This has got to be some sort of a record.
You know what? We're gonna fight through it. Hopefully, you didn't jinx it right there, because I'm very, very excited about this. Because now next phase of this, because it was Paulie was the one that did sign the power of attorney, right? And then they ultimately went broke there in Rocky 5. I don't want to blame Adrian for that, but she did bring Paulie in. Should have kicked him to the curb a while ago. But yeah, the power of attorney thing was that was the other one. The famous Adrian yelling, like you just beautifully portrayed in Rocky 3. Then the next one in my head is, it's a power of attorney, Paulie.
Rocky 5 never happened. That movie is a complete disaster. Even Stallone admits it. So the power of attorney, and then the whole scene in Rocky 5, I have removed that movie from my mind. It was awful. It was painful to watch. But as I've gone back, with like they do sometimes in music, where they'll go back and do a retro review of an album, it's not as bad as I originally thought, but it's still bad.
Yeah,
awful.
It would. They didn't land the plane.
That.
They didn't land the idea was good, right? We've seen big boxer, top of the world, bad power of attorney, goes broke, back to the old neighborhood. I love the idea of that, but then the fake Don King and we're gonna do a street fight on TV didn't really land the plane.
No, I don't need a fake Don King or Tommy Morrison in a Rocky film. Sorry, that doesn't work. Shouldn't have done it. And Rocky, he regrets it. The whole thing was a disaster, but he completely redeemed himself with Rocky Balboa. So I respect that. Maybe Rocky 5 needed to happen so that you could have the opportunity, like 30 years past that to be able to go back and do it the right way with Rocky Balboa. So sometimes you need to go through a clunker in order to achieve greatness. So maybe it was necessary.
Chad joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio, off the cuff here, which is fantastic. I did want, while I got you working with the phone, I did want to bring this up because you have been very public about how you had a very bad gambling problem, and then you have since overcame that, and so I want to ask you, because I dabble on the phone, but I'm not a gambler. Chad, how do you get $4.5 million in debt? With only so I'm talking about Shohei Ohtani's interpreter. I don't know if you saw that story about how he apparently Shohei was covering the debt and then said, no, this is a massive theft. And I know baseball is kind of freaking out, but I'm just wondering, this interpreter is making around $400,000 a year. How do you get $4.5 million in debt if you're not being bankrolled by maybe a big-time baseball player?
Okay, let me break this down. First off, yes, I've seen the story, Justin. I don't live in a cocoon.
I know.
I'm well aware of Shohei Ohtani. So let me break
the sun's
this down.
been out. You've been golfing, all right? You've been golfing.
Golf season, April 15th. Blazer season ends April 14th. The golf season officially begins April 15th. Trust me, I have a passionate love affair with that, so I can't wait till that arrives. But this is there are two things that I think are the most likely. Let me go with your question first. I had a few good phone calls I've had in a while. So he made a very good point, because I was talking about what was the most likely scenario and what went down. He said, and this guy, Brenden, sounded like a guy that probably gets down a little bit. He made a very good point. He said that it is highly unlikely that his interpreter, Mazahura, he made somewhere roughly in the reports, it looks like $300,000 to $500,000 a year working for the Angels and then the Dodgers this year as his interpreter. It is unlikely that a bookmaker would allow someone who makes $300,000 to $500,000 a year run up a gambling debt of about $4 to $4.5 million.
Yeah.
So his thought process was that there's no way he would allow the interpreter run up that type of bill. So, but if you're Shohei Ohtani and you're trying to get action down, you're not worried about a $4.5 million bill, because you know that he's good for the money. So when I heard it and thought of it that way, I was like, okay, that makes sense. It very well could be Shohei who's got the gambling problem. I also do think that it's quite possible that he and his interpreter, who are boys and they've been longtime friends for an extended period of time, we're talking about decades. These guys are tight, like brothers. It's quite possible that, Shohei was well aware that his boy likes to get down. He got into a bit of a problem because he runs up this tab. And by the way, you don't run up that type of tab unless you got a gambling problem. I know from experience, like that's a serious issue. $4.5 million is a big time number for a gambler. So it's quite possible that Mazahura went to Shohei and said, yo, man, I need your help. And he's like, no problem. I got you. I'll cover the debts. And then he sends the money with the wire transfers. And then they come out and for some reason allow Mazahura to sit down with the investigative reporter for 90 minutes. They ask all these questions. He provides the answers. They go back to Shohei's representation because they want to follow up based on the discussion with the interpreter. And then all of a sudden his people are like, this guy's been investigated by the feds. This is a big-time issue. He's a shady character. You don't want your name all over this. And then they just flipped the story at the end and said, yeah, he stole the money, because they needed to find a fall guy because they don't want Shohei's name being associated with this, bookmaker that's being investigated by the feds. So it's either that or Shohei's got a massive gambling problem. One of them has a gambling problem and somebody's lying. There's no question about it. But this is it's always weird. That was over 20 years ago when I was knee deep into my issue. But I'll tell you one thing, when you're gambling, it doesn't matter what the cost is. It doesn't matter how you have to access the money. All that matters is I need to get my action in. I need to get down. And if I lose a big bet, no problem. I'm just going to chase it because I'll get it back the next time. That's the thought process.
Mm-hmm.
You're not worried about the losses. You're just worried about doing whatever it takes to find a way to win, to cover those losses and get your action in. It's a bizarre cycle that is quite sickening. But that's my guess. My guess is either Shohei's got a serious gambling problem or he was covering his boy who's got a gambling problem, and then they came back to Shohei and said, yeah, this is not good. This guy's being investigated by the feds. You got to disassociate yourself with the interpreter, and then they come up with this scheme. The funny thing is the day before in that first game with the Padres and Dodgers over in South Korea, they're hanging out in the dugout just lapping it up, man, like a couple of good bros. And the very next day, it's like, I don't know what happened. He stole a bunch of money from me. I find that very hard to believe. And I also find it hard to believe that he would have been able to access his accounts and transfer those type of funds in a period of time without having Shohei's help to be able to do that because of all the password information and the double checking that the banks would do to make sure that it's legitimate.
All right, one last thing on this. Chad Doing joining us. I know my clock integrity is going out the window. My apologies, but you know what?
This week you and your lovely man Brenden have just given a middle finger to the clock.
Starting the update on time. We're getting the update on time. I didn't break a mic stand in the last 3 days. I mean,
that's true. I did. I have to admit, I have to give you full credit. And I explained to my audience in the afternoon that you are Mr. Destructo when it comes to the mic stand in the studio.
Yeah.
But I love that you went like University of Miami or one of these great NCAA schools that you're like, you know what? I admit that we are in error here, and you had self-imposed sanctions on yourself to protect the microphone stand. I respect that. It was awesome.
Mea culpa. Had to admit, I have a problem, right? This is not the first mic stand problem in my career, nor is it just this station. It's been other stations. It's a problem, all right? So first step, I admitted it. But I did want to, this last thing, because here's the other thing I don't believe. Is that, like you mentioned, if you're at a $4.5 million debt, you have a gambling problem. But the stories and the reports have been very adamant, not gambling on baseball, gambling on sports, not gambling on baseball. Chad, if you're $4.5 million underwater and you are in the clubhouse, whether you are the interpreter or you are Shohei, you know what is you meaning to tell me you're not going to real quick maybe get some of that back because you know the bullpen's a little depleted? I have a hard time believing that baseball was completely off the table when you're that much underwater.
If you're if you have an addiction and you're a gambling addict, I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth because I know if you're an addict, chances are you're lying to your devil ass. So I do agree that there's quite a possibility that baseball was a part of it because if you're desperate, you're going to go with what you know best or what you believe that you have that's going to give you the best chance to win. So it was weird how he was very quick to point out that, I would never bet on baseball because I'm well aware of the rules. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I'm going to have to maybe think that you're possibly lying. So, yeah, it's quite possible that baseball was on the table, which would be a serious problem. And then, of course, the commissioner's got a mess on his hands because you're going to have to dig through the CBA and look at the rules because, if you're associated with an illegal bookmaker, if you're doing things that may not align with, the rules of the game and what the players are expected to do, that could be a big mess, too. But it's unbelievable because Shohei's the biggest star in the game, but he's also one of the most popular athletes on the planet. So this is it's a big mess for Major League Baseball, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it proceeds.
Chad Doing, friend of the program from Rip City Drive. He's going to be on this afternoon. Got Blazers tonight against the Clippers. Also, Chad and Chris Burkhart are going to be covering for my behind for my vacation next week. I'm just going to tell you, on Tuesday when you get in here, I got a little something for you, okay? A little token of my appreciation because I know that you and Burkhart are going to be covering for me next week. And I got a little token of my appreciation coming your way on Tuesday. Just letting you know.
That's good. And I don't know what that is or what that means, but I do know that you, even though I don't know firsthand, I'm going to take a guess that you and your wife, based on what I know about you, you guys are high class. My guess is you're a great gift giver. That's my suspicion about you.
It is going to be, I think, something both practical and functional. I think those might both mean the same thing. I don't know. I might have screwed that up. Anyways, I've already buried the clock. Hey, Chad, we got the phone to work for a good 12 minutes. Pumped about that, so we'll take that win. Have a good show this afternoon, bud. Talk to you soon.
All right, dude. Hey, enjoy your afternoon. I will talk to you soon. And yes, just remember that anyone out there listening, Adrian, net positive for the Rocky franchise. Critical.
100%. Chad Ewing, ladies and gentlemen, from Rip City Drive. All right, we come back with more March Madness stuff. Oregon continues to win in the tournament. Dana Altman, he turns it on in March. He's got it figured out. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, a big thanks to our good friend Chad Doing for joining us last segment, impromptu, off the cuff, and that's why he's the best in the biz. I didn't want to we've had the last couple of times Chad and I have tried to do him on the show. We've had some technical problems, and the fact that we actually had a good connection, I was like, we got to keep this going. And so, I screwed up the clock.
The old phone can be a little unreliable at times.
I don't know if the listeners understand that, but we really screwed up the clock. But luckily,
when you're on with the boss,
I was on with the boss. So, also, leave it up to me to be like, I don't know, have you seen this Shohei Ohtani thing? It's like, yeah, biggest story in sports. I think I've seen it. I don't know. It's like the biggest thing going on in sports right now.
That was pretty funny.
Of course I've seen it, but I don't know. I don't know what those guys do in the afternoon. Yeah, I've opened my phone and looked at my computer. I think I've seen it a couple of times. But I think Chad's with. There's no way they didn't bet on baseball. There's no, I don't know if it was.
He explained it, articulated very well.
You don't, and I thought that, but I have not been in the gambling world. Chad has been in the gambling world, and it's like if you get that far deep, that you have a gambling addiction. And if you have a gambling, and I said to you off the air, the idea of, we ran up a $4.5 million debt, but that's just college football in the NFL. You know what I mean? Never on baseball. It's like, I've been around some drinkers in my day. I enjoy a good cocktail. I am very lucky, though, in the fact that I am able to go to dinner, have a couple of glasses of wine, call it good. Now, I have friends who don't have that ability and have subsequently went through treatment. So I've been around a lot of drinkers, and it reminded me very much of somebody who was like, as long as I don't drink whiskey, I'm fine. Guys, I don't have a drinking problem. I can't drink whiskey anymore, though. That's just, if I drink whiskey, I get into fights, and it's like, I don't think it's whiskey. I think that's what it reminded me of. It reminded I've gambled, and boy, I am a bad gambler. Let me tell you. So terrible. 4 million in the hole. But never baseball. Nope, no baseball. Would never do that. That does not add up. It doesn't make a lick of sense. Let's just say it's the interpreter. Let's just say it's him. Dude, you're in the clubhouse. You're on the mound during mound visits. You're gonna dabble a little bit in baseball, in a hole. So
I'm kind of with Chad.
I'm not buying it. And again, if baseball finds out now that Shohei Ohtani or this is some big problems if they find a baseball bet, and let me tell you, if the FBI is involved and the FBI is investigating this bookmaker in California and push comes to shove, singing like a canary. You know what I mean? Yes, Brenden. What were you about?
I think it's too on the nose, and I think that this has the potential to absolutely rock the sports world upside down. It's coincidental, completely, not conspiracy or anything, just coincidental that this happened to break on the day of March Madness, which, Justin, if this had broke on a Monday or a Tuesday, where we weren't all watching games all day, and it wasn't
Kentucky lost, and
just saying, that was kind of some convenient Friday night news dump for them too. So
it was like a Wednesday night news dump before March Madness came along.
Exactly. So with all that, I think I'm leaning with you guys. I think I think the interpreter is way involved. I don't want to believe that Shohei was betting on baseball, but I can't say for certainty that he wasn't.
And again, I don't know the relationship between these two. And
Chad
I don't know I don't know what it's like to have a $700 million contract. But didn't you think you'd notice if $4.5 million was missing? As like he had to be informed by the Dodgers that there was an investigation going on. Like, don't you think you would? I don't know. Like I said, I've never been $100 millionaire. So I don't know what that is like.
Going back to our conversation, which sparked this whole thing with Chad doing, Rocky did not know his money was gone.
Yeah, but Paulie signed the power of attorney. Yeah.
So what if Shohei's like, excuse me?
Did somebody sign a power of attorney?
I'm just asking.
Like Paulie did.
I am just asking for a friend because it's true. It's like, generally speaking, Justin, no. I mean, you think about how I'm wired, how you're wired, how most people are. Again, I believe in this world that human beings are motivated by two things, money and something else. And, I think that with that, like, maybe if you're Elon Musk or Bill Gates, you're like, all right, $1 million, that's pocket change. But even for someone like Shohei, who just signed a near $1 billion deal, I still think $4 million would be something you would notice.
The number is so astronomically big.
You would notice it, I think.
The number is so astronomically big. That's where I think this is a whole big deal. Anyways, there may be more coming out. This may get buried. I don't know. But like I said, if California bookmaker is being investigated by the feds, he's going to sing. He's going to sing like a canary. And I think we're going to find out. Maybe we'll find out more. Because that's what happened with all the steroid stuff, right? It was, everybody kept their mouth shut. Congressional hearings, baseball investigations. Oh, feds started raiding offices. This is a file. It says Alex Rodriguez. That's where the turntables turned.
Oh, and one last thing that's just something that Chad mentioned, how he mentioned that I didn't know much about this interpreter. So when Chad mentioned, they go way back or whatever it is.
It's in his contract.
So something I mentioned to you, Justin, that just adds a little unique twist to this. Justin, sports gambling is very illegal in Japan.
Yeah.
Very, very illegal. And I just, for guys who spent the majority of their lives in Japan, like, add that to the equation, too. And it's kind of like, huh. So, a lot of questions. Not much in the way of answers, though.
All right, let's go to some positive news. Oregon Ducks get a win yesterday in the first round. They take down South Carolina. The Oregon run continues. And, you could chalk it up as like, boy, they're on a hot streak. It's a bit of a fluke. But the fact that we've seen Dana Altman do this more and more and more, it's just, I have to just resign the fact that this is what Dana Altman's going to do. Like it's the opposite of John Calipari, right? So many March disappointments for Kentucky. It can't all be a coincidence. That many NBA players, that many guys that go not only into the NBA, but into the first round, not only go into the NBA, but thrive in the NBA. I mean, like I said, just take a look at the first team All-NBA. You got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You got Devin Booker. You have Anthony Davis, right? You've got all of these guys. Now, Anthony Davis did win a title, and Devin Booker did go to a Final Four. But you just look at the amount of dudes that came from Kentucky and the fact that they have got one title and multiple early St. Peter's 2 years ago. Remember when they lost St. Peter's 2 years ago? Now add the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. What's dude's name? Golke. Jack Golke. That guy.
Best hairline in basketball, probably.
It's very Wolverine-like.
In a very funny kind of way.
It's got a little, his hair, Jack Golke's got a little Drew Eubanks.
You mentioned that earlier.
He's got a little Wolverine, Drew Eubanks kind of style to the hair. But, like, this guy was made for March Madness. Right? Just guys in his face, unafraid, 10 threes, berries. And I'm watching that game, and I'm just like, here comes Kentucky. And then Golke, boom, big shot. Every time it looked like Kentucky might start flexing their 5-star muscle and their first-round NBA muscle, and that, all right, it was cute for about, 25 minutes of basketball, but now we shall take over. And it's like, no, now it's 30 minutes. Now it's 35. It's like, Golke's not missing. He, like, unafraid. And just, what's great about March Madness is, like, we've all been to, like, well, I don't know if we've all been there, but I think, have you ever played, like, pickup basketball? This dude shows up every once in a while, right? Jack Golke is like the NCAA version of like, hey, we're all playing like this community group pickup, and like I mentioned, white men can't jump. Like Billy Hoyle is there, and it's like, all right, who's taking Golke? And it's like, oh, nope. Turns out, guys, lights out, can't miss. Can't miss. Running off of screens, fade away, 3-pointer, dudes in his face, berries. But it's getting hot for Calipari in Kentucky, as opposed to how we are in Oregon, right? With Dana Altman, it's like, well, death taxes, Dana Altman making a run in March, winning the first round. And just, I mentioned it after the Pac-12 tournament, like, it is very Dumb and Dumber, totally redeemed yourself. And it's like, and then I know a lot of people, Tyson Alger mentioned it on Wednesday, and it's like, Dana Altman doesn't lose in the first round. And I picked Oregon to win the game. I picked them to go to the Sweet 16 just because I want them to. But I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, is the clock going to strike midnight, right? Is this carriage going to turn into a pumpkin? And
can you talk about the journey?
But like, no, they play, like they go to that game against South Carolina, Brent, they dominated. Kuznart having a big day helps.
Did. Yeah,
and it helps because I believe that's his old team. He used a transfer.
Okay,
he left after the Frank Martin era ended, and he's like, so you got to so there was some motivation there, but like also it's just like, this is what Dana Altman does. He's got a system. It can't be a coincidence.
I just
when
think
it happens this often.
I just think it's hilarious to put ourselves back in the Wayback Machine, Justin, and realize 1 week ago you had such little confidence in your basketball team that you made a bet with me that was paid off yesterday, but you made a bet with me 1 week ago and had, I mean, and not like in a negative way, but you're just like, I don't think they're going to win.
This is the power of March, right? This is the power. This is the force, right? Cool. And I'm going to butcher the force, but like there's the dark side and the light side, right? And the March Madness giveth Dana Altman in 4 games has completely redeemed his season. They win on Saturday against Creighton and go to the Sweet 16. As I mentioned, this is a top 10 season in Oregon basketball history. Just go back and look. Like, of the times they made the Sweet 16, it's not very often. That's a 4-game stretch where Dana Altman, that is the light side of the force of March Madness. Then there's the dark, which is John Calipari, right? And the dark side is Kentucky has got 2 guys going in the first round this year, one of which will likely go in the top 5. In Reed Shepherd. He has got multiple guys thriving in the NBA. But you don't take care of business in March, nobody cares. You're all of a sudden on the hot seat. Like, Kentucky won 23 games this year. They won 23 games. Doesn't matter. One bad day against the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. All of a sudden, it's like, can we find $33 million somewhere to buy him out? Because that's the dark and the light of the power of March Madness. Is the light, Dana Altman. Change your season around. One run, one bad night in March against Golke.
So I thought that was
it's over.
I thought that was a crooked figure, Justin. Maybe something we can tease to get into our maybe a little hybrid segment. But you told me $35 million. Not much for the old bluegrass state.
A lot of thoroughbreds there. A lot of thoroughbreds, a lot of money in the thoroughbred world. There's a lot of thoroughbred owners who are also big Kentucky, Big Blue Nation fans. They're looking down the barn. They're looking in the stables going like, all right, 3 of those? Get 3 of those guys? All right. We've got the RCA mailbag. We wrap up the big show next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up the big show because we got basketball games tipping off in about half an hour. The next round of games. I think we got FAU and Northwestern tipping off in about half an hour. Remember when FAU made the Final Four? How about that?
It's the last year, right?
Forgot about FAU.
Yeah, oops.
Out of nowhere, it's like, hey, FAU's in the Final Four. That's nuts. Well, they play Northwestern. And then, like we mentioned, Colorado's playing today. What's other? I called the Duquesne upset yesterday. Let's see. What upset am I going to call before we open up the mailbag? Watch out for Vermont and Duke. Just keep an eye on Vermont and Duke. Not calling an upset, but I'm saying keep an eye on that one. All right. Let's get to the mailbag. I think I picked Grand Canyon to beat St. Mary's. That's my upset call today.
That's a good one.
Grand Canyon. I like Grand Canyon because I saw their dude with up like 10 in the conference tournament threw a windmill dunk down and then almost started a bench clearing brawl. And I was like, I like the cut of his jib. I like it.
We're going to stick a little sports because I wasn't quite done with this conversation just yet before we get into the full mailbag, Justin. But kind of a question for you. If it came out that Shohei was betting on baseball, how bad does this get?
Pretty bad.
Like Pete Rose bad or suspended for like a year bad? Just your gut feeling on how this is all coming into the public sphere.
All right, so it's very different because we think differently of gambling now than we did in the past.
Very true.
But precedent setting. I don't think banned for life bad like Pete Rose, but I think season-long suspension.
Yeah, I can see it too.
I think
I don't think this is going to end well, Justin. Like it's like even just
now again, there's tiers here, right? What if it was like betting on baseball but not on his own team? And this is the thing with Pete Rose. You had betting slips and like you didn't really know. Like if this was through electronic communication, we may know. If he was betting on, if Shohei was involved with betting on his own games, oh boy, worms can open.
Let's go ahead and open up the mailbag now, Justin. I'm curious. What do you think is the best fast food / restaurant slogan? So let's throw in some, is it like BK?
Have it your way because that one like.
Or Mickey D's, I'm loving it.
I'm not a fan of that.
Oh, really?
I know the
yeah.
But not the biggest of that.
Throw out some other ones.
Okay, a couple. Nobody Out Pizzas the Hut is probably
I was going to throw
the
that
current
one.
I think leader in the clubhouse.
Taco Bell?
Burger King, have it your way. Now Taco Bell used to say run for the border. They don't do that anymore. That makes sense
why they left that alone. That makes some sense.
That's changed culturally, obviously,
that makes some sense.
But like make a run for the border. Because that's what we you used to say that.
That's interesting.
It's like, hey, you want to make a run for the border? Like we're going to Taco Bell. What is it now? It's like
Liv Moss.
All right.
Yep.
I like run for the border better, even though again culturally don't know if that's cool or not.
A couple more that I remember, like KFC, finger looking good. That's kind of a classic.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else is like.
Did you ever hear the urban myth about KFC? Because when I was a kid, it was Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you said Kentucky Fried Chicken. KFC was a nickname, same as like BK for Burger King. The urban myth was that because they pumped so much into the chickens that they couldn't be referred to as chickens, so they changed their name to KFC officially. Wow. I don't think that's real. I think that was an urban legend, but that was one I always remember saying, like, oh, no, they had to change it to KFC because they couldn't legally call themselves chicken because it wasn't. Like
interesting. Okay.
But
no, I can see it.
I'm gonna go with look.
I got two more
hold the pickles, hold the lettuce. Special orders don't upset us. At Burger King, you have it your way.
I got two more for you. Applebee's, eating good in the neighborhood.
Yeah, Applebee's is good.
And Justin's referenced this one many times. When you're here, your
Your
family.
family.
Olive Garden, baby.
Hey. When you're here,
America
your family.
runs on Dunkin'. There's a lot of
If your family likes mediocre pasta, come on to the Olive Garden.
There's a lot of really good catchphrases. I don't know that I could.
I don't like America runs on Dunkin' because I live in America and we don't have Dunkin' anywhere near
You run
us.
on Starbucks, baby.
Starbucks so good doesn't need a slogan. It's like, hey, Starbucks, we're awesome. We know it. Don't need a slogan. So, how
What
about
do you
that?
think would be the winner there? We can close out. Oh, we'll throw in Subway too. Eat fresh.
But it's not for it. I mean,
Justin, no.
I think I'm still sticking with Burger King.
Okay, so
I'm gonna still the slogan much better than the actual place. Like,
have it your way.
but that was and maybe it's my own nostalgia when you used to go to Burger King and you would order and then they would have a microphone and so I'd be like, Whopper, no pickles. Whopper, no pickles. And like they would call it to the back. Like, large onion ring. And then they would mark it off. Like, meanwhile, Mickey D's was like, no, we've already made them. This is the way you get them. All right, that's going to do it for the big show. Hey, thanks to Chad doing impromptu guest here in the third hour. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific weekend. We're back Monday morning bright and early to wrap up the madness here on 620 Rip City Radio.